What is up, Cowboys Nation, Cowboys Cave? How's everybody doing tonight on this Wednesday night? We are coming to you live. It's me and my boy Greg over here. As you guys just seen, we have a little bit of highlights from the Pittsburgh game. Got the victory shirt on right now. Mike can't be here, obviously, because of the hurricane going on in Florida. So we do just want to give a special shout out to Mike and his family. Thoughts and prayers with them and everybody else that's involved in that affected area. I hope everybody stays safe and good from that hurricane. But Greg came in here to join the cave and bring some of the hype in here and co-host with me here. So Greg, how you doing tonight? And how about them Cowboys?
How about them, baby? Yeah, I'm doing good, man. It's feeling good this week. We got off a good win, win at the last minute. When everybody seemed like they stepped up, the players played. We got a running game, sort of, kind of now. The backup defensive players stepped up. We looked good. Got out of Pittsburgh with a win. Got to wear my victory shirt in the airport, and I'm feeling real good right now.
Well, I mean, there's no better place to wear the victory shirt than going through the airport and going, especially when you're in enemy territory. You know what I mean? And they seeing you, they know what that's about. And I just got to say, man, I don't know if anybody in here in the cave went and checked out Greg's videos. I know that I seen him on TikTok. If you guys don't follow him on TikTok, you got to make sure you follow him on TikTok. But Greg was out in enemy territory out here, and he was giving these guys the business. I mean, really just going around and letting these Pittsburgh fans have it. Now, obviously, it was all in good fun, but I mean, I love the way you was letting them know before the game with absolutely no uncertainty whatsoever. You was saying, we're going to win this game.
That's right.
We're going to win this game. So it's always good when you can go into a game and you can talk that talk and walk out of the game.
Yeah.
And not have them fans talk to you. But I mean, so you were there, you had the weather delay that went on and everything. I mean, kind of walk us through what happened. I mean, what time did you get to the stadium, and how did that transpire up until kickoff?
Well, man, I was up by 7:00 that morning. We did the podcast at 9. Do it with my brother. He's a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. He's feeling pretty sad right now. And we went out to the area where the stadium is, because right down the street is a casino. So we went there to watch all the games. The NFL games, the early games. And then probably after all of the first games over, we went out to the stadium. You know how you hang out at the tailgates, and went out there, and I started talking smack. And next thing you know, we got time to go into the stadium. So I purposefully walked around the entire stadium where everybody was going to the gates, coming off the streets. It was packed, and I was talking cash, and I wasn't getting to nobody personally, wasn't cussing at them. Just letting them know we're going to win the game. I love all the blue I saw. Had a lot of camaraderie out there. And everybody, you could see that the Steelers fans were nervous, man, because the way I was talking was like the game was already over. Already knew we were going to win. And no ifs, ands, and buts or hopes. And I think it was we won. We're going to win. We're going to get out here with a win. Y'all going to work tomorrow. If you got a Cowboys co-worker, you're going to try to hide from them. Some of y'all going to be calling in sick. It was fun. The best part, K9, was the fact that I got to leave there with a win. Because if I had to leave that stadium with a loss, it would have been ugly. But when we got in there, everybody sat down, and like clockwork, the weatherman said at 8:00, that's when the storm's coming through. Like clockwork. They told everybody to take shelter. We came out, and if you've been to Pittsburgh, you can come out to the concession stands, and they got that overhang so you can stand up under it, and it's real high, so to cover a lot of people. So I stood up under there. It was about at least an hour and a half, and it poured down, and it was lightning. But most of the Steelers people were standing out there in the rain, not trying to get covered, and they were talking to each other, carrying on as if no raindrops were hitting them. I guess they're accustomed to it. So after that was over, they let everybody get back in the stadium. Get back to the seats. Wipe my seats down with my towel. Game started. It was on. And from the first play to the end, it was straight anxiety. I had Steelers fans on both sides, but they were cool people. We met each other. We were talking. They were cool people. Nobody was fighting. Nobody got ignorant. Everything was cool. Cowboys fans got up. They were loud. The Steelers fans were loud. It was just a good time, man. But I tell you, that was the first game I've actually been to where it came down to the last play, the last seconds on the goal line for us to win. And you talking about nervous and being at the stadium. I can't remember the last time I was that nervous.
Well, I would say, I thought that with that game, obviously, and you're right, one, walking out of there with a win, 2-3, or 3-2 feels a lot better than 2-3,
Oh, yeah.
which is the alternate. Mike just tapped in here just a second ago. I flashed it up on the screen. He says they're doing good right now. Says the worst is yet to come, so it's starting to pick up there. So, Mike, we're still thinking about you and the fam. Yeah, I mean, the storm, the rain, the lightning. I mean, I thought this game was never going to start. I'm sitting over here, and it's one of those things where, I mean, I'm just a fan. I'm sitting on the couch watching the game, but I'm hyped, and my anxiety is flowing. And to find out, to turn the TV on, 15 minutes before the game. And then I'm like, I'm not really paying attention. I'm kind of getting some things ready. It was almost a last minute type thing. I usually like to watch the pregame. I did not get a chance at the game. I turned it on and I'm like, why aren't they showing these guys warming up on the field? What the hell's going on here? They're still showing other highlights. So I had to double check, make sure I had the right channel. And then I see that, that it's in delay. And I'm like, oh God, it's a rain delay. I was like, oh God. So I'm thinking, is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? Because, like I said, as a fan, I'm already anxious. I'm hyped up. I'm ready to go. So you kind of start to think about, okay, what are the players' mindset in this scenario? Because obviously you don't know how long this delay is going to be. Are the players, are they staying ready? How are they staying ready? Because as a player, you got to be amped up too. So those guys were amped up, ready to go. Now they've kind of got to kick back. They've got to kind of, bring that down a little bit and then get ready when it's time to get out there and warm up. So, but the good thing is that it's both sides. It's not, It wasn't just the Cowboys. Obviously, the Steelers had to get ready for that too. And it seemed like, at least to me, when the Cowboys got out there, that, it was good. It was going to be one of those games, like you said, anxious from the start. And it just seemed like it was going to be one of those games that was going to come down to the final moments of the game, and it was going to be a play, and it just kept wondering, okay, which side is going to make the play? Now, I ask you. So the first half, we're off to a slow start. Dak has the 3 turnovers in the first half. It's still a very close, nail biter of a game right there, but. What were you thinking when you're watching Dak and the offense out there really struggling to get points and turning the ball over to Pittsburgh on the road, in conditions like that? What were you thinking about, how this was going to play out in the second half?
Yeah, it was frustrating because, I had said before the game at the previous podcast, I said, what I don't want is rain. I don't want bad weather because I thought it would favor Pittsburgh. But that rain seemed to drain off the field real well. And the players, I didn't see a lot of slipping up or a lot of missing the balls because of that. So you would have, when the game started and they were playing, if you didn't realize that it rained, you wouldn't even thought about it because it didn't look like it affected the game. However, when Dak got in the red zone at least 3 times and couldn't score a touchdown, and then he had the turnovers, I was like, man, don't let this be one of Dak's worst games. And I predicted 27-17. Mike said 20-17, which was actually the score. If we scored in those red zones like we should have when we went down there, it would have been about 27-17 or even more because we went down there 4 times in the red zone. Now, the 4th time at the end of the game, we scored. But it was so frustrating to get down there every time and couldn't get the ball in the end zone. And then we had to kick a field goal. And then one time you saw where Aubrey's field goal got blocked because from the stadium, it didn't look like he got it high enough. It looked like he was dragging it, or maybe he slipped. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that made me feel kind of anxious as well because I was like, man, that field goal could be the deciding factor. But we have to work on that red zone a lot better what we're doing, man, because we got down there easy, Kelly. We easily got to the red zone, but then we stymied and couldn't do anything. Fortunately, our defense, backup replacement players, Wheat and those guys, they stepped up because if it hadn't been for that defensive line stepping up, holding Fields, keeping him contained, and slowing down their running game. It could have been a field day for him, man. But the defense did exactly what they needed to do. The offense just needed to step up. And fortunately, we had a few more plays than they did, and that's how we end up winning. But we got to get that offense rolling, man, because the defense is starting to get their stride now. They're starting to get their stride, and the backup players are stepping in, and you almost didn't even miss Micah or Lawrence because the game stayed tight so much you forgot that they weren't even out there. But the offense, man, it kept getting stymied, and it was worrying me that at the end of the game we were going to be like, damn, we were 2 red zone shots away from winning this game. But overall, I was way impressed with the defense, man. Jordan Lewis stepped up and played his ass off. Corliss stepped up and played his ass off with all the injuries we got. Just that offense has really got to get to working because Detroit's coming in town, and we got to score points.
Yeah, well, just watching that game, there was a couple of positive things that I took away from it. One, I mean, like you said, going back to that first half, it was the the turnovers obviously were killing us in the first half, but the offense moved the ball well. And that's one of those things that kind of remind me of a few years ago when Kellen Moore was still the offensive coordinator. It seemed like they would moving the ball between the 20s was just they did it with ease. Mm-hmm. But then when they got down there in the red zone, it's kind of like I don't know, for anybody that's seen the movie Tommy Boy, when Tommy Boy says he's getting ready to make the sale and he's like petting that, he's like, the sale's like his little, and he's like, oh, and it's just my nice one. And then he just squeezes it, just spazzes the hell out. That was like the Cowboys. And it kind of seems like what they've been doing this year. They move the ball within the 20s well, and then they get down in the red zone and they just spaz out. You know what I mean? It's like they can't, whether it be the receiver running the wrong route, whether it be, calling a play. And I mean, even going into the second half when Dowdle, reaches out and tries to jump over the goal line and flying over the goal line and fumbles the ball. And let me just say this right now. I mean, I know that Dak Prescott, had a bad first half, but let me just, say for anybody that says, they say, hey, we were in a hole because of Dak Prescott. Well, he was also the reason we got out of that hole because Dak Prescott's play in the second half turned around and he, I mean, that him diving on that ball, that fumble in the fourth quarter and that last drive saved the game. Yeah. Not only that, that very last drive, we started running the ball a little better with Dowdle, but I think it was that Dak had 6 or 7 completions. I think it was 6 of 8 on that drive that he had. So they put the ball into Dak Prescott's hands when it mattered the most. And he did what many have been clamoring for him to do, because a lot of his detractors, a lot of his people that will hate on him, Cowboys fans or not, their thing is Dak can't win the game when it matters the most. Dak can't win the good, the games. Well, look, this was a road game against a team that was 3-1, against a team that has a good defense. I mean, the Steelers are a good, sound defensive team. And Dak Prescott went out there and he did exactly what you want him to do. He put the team on his back. And when it was time to make the play of the game, Dak made the play of the game. And that pass to Tolbert right there. And hats off to Tolbert. I mean, Tolbert came out for, or had that play on the third down play where it looked like that he got hurt. And then comes back in there and got it out. As actually, when I say he got hurt, let me say to steal from Tyler Smith, he sprained his nuts. Tyler Smith, I don't know if you saw that. Tyler Smith said he literally sprained his nuts. But that was I've never heard that term before, spraining his nuts. But look, he came back and he did what he needed to do. But we saw some encouraging things from this offense. They started to kind of get the run game going a little bit better. Dowdle was looking really impressive. I was impressed by him, not only with the way he was running the ball, that touchdown catch that he had also was a great grab by him, getting downfield, getting open. Hunter Lipke seems like a guy who continues to make plays, who is giving himself, giving the Cowboys coaching staff reasons not to have him out of the game, to have him in the game, short yardage situations. And things of that nature. So, out of this game, though, we saw, I don't know if it popped on the TV like it did in person, because obviously you were there in person, but it just looked, the offense and defense just looked quicker to
Mhm.
me. I don't know if it looked that way to you, but they just looked quicker. The way that they were running the ball, the physicality, everything about them looked a lot quicker. So I don't know if that popped off to you at the stadium. What did you think about the way that the team looked? And with all the injuries as well,
Right.
which surprised me.
Well, when they came out before the weather delay, and they were coming out doing all their calisthenics and everything together, man, they looked like a unit. They looked like they wanted to be there. They looked together. They were dapping each other. They were in unison. And I said, man, these guys they don't look like they're just hanging out like, hey, what are we gonna do? And they look like they're ready to go. I mean, you can see the confidence. Flournoy came out there for the first time, and they were throwing him the ball in practice. He was catching. He was all excited. You can see him. And then when they had to go back in for weather delay, they came back out. When the game started, it seemed like everybody was in tune. It's like we had the team. They would get together on the sideline or right on the sideline before they go out. You could see them talking to each other, getting together. Lipke has always been able to make the big play that we need him to make, like in the third or fourth quarter, to help sustain a very important drive. And he did that again in that game. And Jordan Lewis did his job shutting down those receivers. But the whole team looked together. The defense played together. Guyton got knocked out the game. And I was like, oh, hell, damn, that's Guyton. But the next man up, Tyler Smith and BB, they just stepped right in there, man, and they just handled it. And I was so impressed with how the team played as a unit. They got the ball and they would go straight down the field. And then they stymied. The defense would hold them. And no matter what Pittsburgh tried, when I looked at Fields, I said, oh, hell, Fields got too much time. But it looks like when Fields was getting ready to run, boom, they covered the gap real quick. It was just like piranhas. They were right up on him. He didn't get any yards that he normally would have. He didn't get to get out the pocket and run the ball and get all these yards. He got one play that I think where he got maybe 10 yards. But for the most part, we did a damn good job on him. Now, that one time they drove down to get a touchdown, we had a few penalties, which we got to work on because we're still getting those penalties. And they got down to the goal line. I said, it's just a matter of time before they punch that goal line now because it's probably going to happen. But that last drive, Kelly, when we came out for that last drive with 40-something seconds left, when they kicked the ball off, I think it was on the 25. Then we got a penalty, and it drove it back. And then Dak proceeded like a field general, and I was up there saying, come on, rush. We got 80 yards to go, and it's 44 seconds. But they were so methodical in that drive. It was as though they thought they had an hour. They didn't rush. They didn't panic. It's like they had you know how they always have that 2-minute drill. They had their 2-minute drill, and after that penalty, they executed it. And each third down, boom, Lipke makes the big play to get the third down. Boom, Dowdle gets a good run to make to get it on third down to get a first down. And then they just proceeded going on the field. I said, man, this has got to be perfect to get down to the goal line to get a touchdown. And they got all, and I said, man, this is precision. Look at this. And I was impressed. And as soon as they got down on the 2-yard line, no, the 1-yard line, all of a sudden they get a penalty and get knocked back. Then they get 4 downs and they get all the way back up. And I'm like, oh, man. And then when Dowdle fumbled that ball and Dak just happened, because here's what happened. He fumbled and I turned my head and I said, that's it. And the crowd was yelling because, yeah. And then all of a sudden they said, oh, and I said, oh, what? Had to look around, people. Dak fell on the ball and I was like, whew. And then we couldn't get the ball in the end zone. Then the 4th down play, I saw him scrambling. I thought it was over. Then I saw him throw it. I said, oh, hell no, that's tight coverage. This dude's going to intercept it. But Tolbert grabbed that ball. You can see him.
Yeah.
He squeezed that ball. When he caught it, he squeezed it so hard so he wouldn't drop it because he never got to pull it in. He squeezed it hard all the way down to the ground and then pulled it in. Then that was it. That was it. And that was so impressive because the drive was clock eating. Because I was saying, why aren't they trying to move faster the clock? And they let the clock run. And I realized they were trying not to leave time on the clock. Because in their minds, they were going to score a touchdown. In their minds, they were going to score a touchdown we don't want to give Fields time. And then I think he only had like 15 seconds when we kicked the ball off, and that was it. That was it. So the whole team as a unit, I felt, played together. They looked more unified in this game even than they did in the Giants game. And to be there to see it, I just got a good feeling, man, that there was, oh yeah, we're ready. But if not for the red zone hiccups, we scored 27, maybe 34 points with just two of the four red zones. 2 of the 4 red zone touchdowns give us 34 points.
Yeah, and I think that's obviously that's something the Cowboys are gonna have to work on and get better at, is these red zone opportunities, and not being able to capitalize on that. But speaking of like some of the the injuries and some of the things that we saw that it was good, some of the things that we saw that was bad, it looked like Guyton had some issues in this game, whether it was some blocking assignments or whether it was some holding issues, some penalties. He's kind of been struggling a little bit. That seemed to look a lot better when Tyler Smith bumps out the left tackle, Bass comes in, and then they've kind of got that new combination.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious to what you think. Is that something that if Guyton's healthy, do you pop him out there at left tackle, let him continue to take his lumps, or is that something where you maybe look at a maybe different combination? You've got Steele struggling there on right tackle. There's been some talks about Steele, about maybe bumping Guyton out to right tackle. I don't necessarily think that's the right move, but what do you do here? Because the offense definitely looked like they were just more in sync across that offensive line once that switch was made. Guyton was out, and then Tyler Smith bumped out the left tackle. What do you think about that offensive line?
And it makes sense. Maybe, they're going to learn something from it when they look at the film, because that last drive, in comparison to how the drives were with Guyton, they were getting penalties. That last drive, they got 1 penalty. That was it. Everybody on that line played their role, and they protected that. They protect them. So maybe, Zimmer looks at that and say, yeah, we want to get Guyton out there because Guyton's a big boy. He's first-round draft pick. We need him. We got people hurt. But let's look at this. Maybe we do need to look at possibly moving him around a little bit, or monitoring him when he comes back in the next time and see, based on our performance without him, see how he plays when he comes back for that next game. Because against Detroit, we need to play like we played when Guyton was out of the game, and how the offense clicked and how they protected that. Now, I understand we're not that deep because of injuries, but if Guyton comes back, he's really got to hold his own, or maybe they give him a little help on that side, because that left side was locked down.
Yeah.
And BB and Tyler Smith, they handled business. And Guyton, I know he's still learning. I know that it's going to be hard for him right off the bat. He's doing a decent job, but Zimmer's got to really study that and say, is there a possibility I can maybe move him in some schemes based on how we performed at the end of the game that would help us get that synchronization and just flow just like we did when we were winning the game when he was out. Because I was worried when he got out, and I said, oh, damn, there goes Guyton. And then we had somebody else to go out. I think it was Nealon. I'm not sure. But that really made me concerned that, that's it. But it didn't. I totally forgot about it. It got to a point where I forgot Guyton was even in the game, because we were flowing. It was flowing. And then that catch by Lamb on the sideline, toe tapper, that was huge.
Yeah.
That was huge. And that helped out a lot. So we got critical plays when we needed to, which were huge. But I was telling a lot of the Steelers fans that I was talking to in the tailgate, I was saying, you guys keep talking about, yeah, but y'all got Dak. That's why y'all going to lose. And y'all got injuries. I said, well, first of all, y'all got injuries too. I said, both our offenses are probably about the same. Your defense is a little bit stronger, but everything else is even killed. I said, but what y'all fail to realize is we got a kicker that's probably the most accurate kicker in the NFL, and he can kick from 70 yards if he had to. So if he comes down to it and our kicker has to kick all night, we're going to win the game on kicks. So y'all got to really score touchdowns. And I said, looking at y'all last few games, Y'all haven't been winning by scoring big touchdowns. Y'all won your first couple by low scores, field goals, and then the next one that you Indianapolis, you scored a little bit more, but you lost. So,
yeah.
I don't think you guys are going to score a whole lot on us, like you're going to blow us out or nothing. And if we hold our ground, our field goal kicker will win the game. But it didn't. And the kicks that he did make actually helped win the game, because without his kicks to get those field goals, when those 2 touchdowns came, we don't have the 20 points that we need. And Dowdle's touchdown on that 20-yard pass, that was critical. Dowdle had 20 rushes for 87 yards. That's the longest, that's the most yards any of our running backs have had so far this year. And
I think that actually eclipsed the most yards. I don't think anybody had that many yards going into the game combined for the season.
Combined, yeah. See, so Dowdle's starting to come in his own, but the line, I think, is starting to gel, because without that line opening the hole, Dowdle doesn't get those yards. And Pittsburgh is known to have a top 3 defense. So that says a lot for us. And when we face the Lions, their defense is ranked up there too. I think somewhere in the top 3. So if our offensive line can perform like they did in the second half, whether Guyton's in the game or not, and we can minimize the penalties, because those set us back a lot. We minimize the penalties, we got a real good chance of beating Detroit. But we got to score on the offense. We can't get down in the red zone and just kick field goals against Detroit.
Okay, well, yeah, you're right. And we've spent about almost 30 minutes here wrapping up this Pittsburgh game. But before we move on to the Detroit Lions, the opponent, the next opponent on the Cowboys schedules, I want to know from you. I'm gonna let you go first and give yours, but I want to know in this game, in this Cowboys-Steeler game, we always talk about having those dogs, right? We talk about dogs on the beat. Eugene loves talking about the dogs, the guys that are hungry, and we got the hungry player. So I want to know from your perspective in this game, who was your player? It could be one, it could be two. You could pick one on both sides of the ball. It could be two on the same side of the ball, but one or two players that you thought were the hungry players of the game that came in there, made a difference, in this game.
Number 1, Jordan Lewis. Number 2, Jordan Lewis. If you didn't know it, if you didn't know the numbers, the number that Jordan Lewis wears, Brandon Cooks, you would think they were the same people because they're almost about the same size. Jordan Lewis shut down those receivers. He shut them down. And then number 2 would be Dowdle. Dowdle stepped up and ran that ball. He grinded out that night. And all those yards he got were precious. And my third was Kendricks. Kendricks showed his ass off at linebacker. He was in almost on every play, big plays, big stops. Those 3 were dogs. Those were the 3 dogs. Jordan Lewis in the back, Kendricks linebacker, and Dowdle running that ball down the line. And then Lipke, I'll say Lipke a strong 4 because Lipke played his role. His role was, when you come in, Lipke, we're probably going to throw it out to you, and we're going to want you to get a few yards, get 7 or 8 yards to get us in the first down. He got one big, I think it was 15 yards or so, and Lipke went through like a beast on those defensive backs. And I know they didn't want to hit him when they saw him, but those 3 are my dogs of the game. They stood out to me far more than anybody, and they were critical to our win. One other thing real quick. Lewis was playing on the I think on the right side, and I noticed a couple of plays that Fields would run back, and when the receiver, when they send a receiver out and he just goes at an angle, like he's running, like let's say they need 8 yards, and he goes at an angle towards the down marker where we need the first down at. Not this way, that way, not up and turn, but just shoot straight at a slant, straight to it. And I think it was Najee did it, no, Waddle. And soon as he did it, Fields just threw a bullet. I mean, a straight bullet. As soon as he threw it, the whole crowd, even myself, said, uh-oh, because it looked like Jordan was going to jump it. Jordan could have jumped it, but he froze real quick, and then he got in there as the ball was getting there, and he made the tackle. DeRon Bland would have jumped that. He would have easily jumped that, because even when Fields threw it, we all looked like, oh, that's going to be an interception. That's how close Jordan Lewis was if he jumped. If he jumped when the ball was took off, when he saw it, he would have jumped it. But I guess he didn't want to take a chance and miss it. And the safety wasn't even on that side. He was trying to cover somebody else. But that's going to be the one good thing about DaRon Bland coming back. If he gets his confidence back with his foot, you let somebody throw that same ball just like that on DaRon Bland's side, he's going to jump it. Because, he runs at it like a piranha. When he sees that meat, he takes off. And he would jump it, and we'll get some interceptions.
Yeah, I agree with all that. There's not any. You make great points on that. There's nothing there I can disagree with. That I did watch Mike this afternoon when he came on and did an impromptu live. In the middle of the hurricane here today, and I told him that I had somebody that he'd never guess, and that not a lot of people I feel like talked about. But I'm going to say it was Tyrus Wheat for me. And the reason why I say that is because he only got half a sack, didn't fill up the stat sheet. He had 3 solo tackles, half a sack. He was in that backfield a lot. He was causing a lot of pressure. And how many times have we sat here and we talked about setting the tone? And we talk about let somebody know you're there and you're going to be there all day. Because listen, you're out Micah Parsons. You're out DeMarcus Lawrence. Then one of the first couple series of the game, Nealand is down. So now, you're down to guys that you don't even know. I didn't even know who this Tyrus Wheat was, to be honest with you. But he comes in the game and pretty quickly he sets the tone. That hit that he laid on Fields, after he did that, you didn't see Fields run around that field very much after that hit, because he laid it on him. And first of all, I think it was a BS call. I saw some people in the chat talking about that, how it was a BS call because he got to him basically a step after the ball was thrown. But I'll tell you what, it was a good hard hit, and it's one of those hits to let him know I'm here. I'm going to be here all night long. And I love that because that's what we've been begging for. We've been begging for a little bit of nasty, somebody to throw a big hit. You know what I mean? And we've even said, even if the flag comes out, set the tone, send the message. And I thought that he did that. And so he was my guy for me because I consistently saw him in the backfield getting pressure. Like I said, only 3 solo tackles and half a stack, but this guy wasn't really expected to play much. He's a guy who's stepping in. We talk about the next guy up. I thought he played pretty damn well. I thought he had quite a few pressures being in the backfield. And then Jordan Lewis as well, because he's a guy who out there, you see him throwing a guy to the ground. You see him out there mixing it up. He's out there talking his smack. These are the kind of things that are infectious across a team. These are the kind of things that can spread, right? It spreads to the rest of they see this mentality that you've got. They see that this is a fighter mentality. I'm going to get out there. I'm not going to be bullied, and I'm going to punch you in the mouth. And if you come at me, you better be ready because I'm coming in with everything I got. So I love the mentality that these guys came in and played with. It was just, I want to see more of it. I want that to spread to all 53 men on the roster. I've always liked Jordan Lewis, but I thought this was one of his signature games because, like you said, he was out there breaking up passes, locking people down. And not only that, he was getting chippy with them. And I love it. So I'm loving what I'm seeing from that. And like I said, I think it's infectious. I think it did kind of spread to the rest of the defense. Because in my opinion, that defense looked faster against Pittsburgh than they did in any other game this season. They were flying around the ball. They were, quick to they were making tackles. Good thing, actually wrapping up. And I think everything that we saw in this game are positives moving forward. Getting the run game going with Dowd, having the defense flying around the ball, being able to trust the guys that you are calling on to be the next man up when you have injuries to major significant players like DeMarcus Lawrence and like Brandon Cooks and like, seeing these young receivers, Tolbert stepping up, seeing Turpin step up and be able to take the top off this defense. Watching those things, just very encouraging for this team moving forward and going into a team that we're going to play in the Detroit Lions that is an explosive offense, that is an offense that I do not believe you're going to be able to get away with kicking field goals. You're going to have to score touchdowns. So, it's very encouraging thing. So on to Detroit. We got the Detroit Lions. Okay, I don't know if many people know this, but the last 6 games, the Cowboys have come out victorious against Detroit. They got a 6-game win streak. Now, I don't know if that's a good thing or it's a bad thing because, all streaks are meant to be broken. So sometimes streaks can come to an end. But I will say this. Detroit is number 3 against the rush. They got the third rushing defense. Passing defense, they're number 18. So there's some good and there's some bad there. We don't run the ball very well. They're very good at stopping the run. So how are you going to get the run going? But at the same time, you've got Dak Prescott going up against the 18th ranked pass defense, and he's shown he can move that ball and he can fling that rock around. So your quick opinion here. What are you looking for in this Detroit game? Offensively, defensively, what are you looking for on both sides of this ball for us to come out victorious against these Lions?
I'm looking for us to score points on offense, period. Because Detroit can be scored on, and Detroit has some high-scoring games. Their offense is no joke. It's in unison. They're together. They know who they are. They know their identity, and they move the ball. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a game changer. Goff is coming to his own, and they can throw that ball. We can take that ball. We got the DBs for it. But at the same time, they're throwing the ball downfield. We got to be throwing it downfield. We got to take advantage. We've got to score points. We can't go and win this game with 20 points. I want to see our offense take advantage at home, take advantage of their secondary. I want to see us exploit them. I don't know if Cooks, I don't think Cooks is going to, I'm not sure if he's going to be back or not. I haven't heard anything. But Flournoy got a chance to play, although he didn't get any receptions. He was a decoy most of the time, but he got a chance to get out in the field, get his confidence up, feel good about being out there because he was excited about getting out, and he was talking about how he couldn't wait. He wanted to show everybody what he's got. He's got some good lessons from Brandon Cooks and Lamb. They've been talking to him. He asked them questions in practice. They answer him. He's filling up his bank on being a good wide receiver and knowing how he trains and all of this other stuff. So Flournoy is ready, but we got to score some points, man. And I'm thinking right now, because we lost those games early in the season, then we came back with the Giants, and then all of a sudden with Pittsburgh, we're starting to look good. We look better against Pittsburgh than we look against anybody. I think we're at that point now where we're starting to find our identity, and we put some of that baggage behind us because the people that are stepping up, like I said at the last show, what if we find out that the defensive line people that step up, that we find out there's a diamond in the rough? And right now, the potential diamond in the rough is, like you said, weak. Nobody even knew who he was, like you said, and he stepped up. So maybe that's one of the diamonds in the rough that's probably getting the opportunity to be out there because we don't have the starters, and he's got to be it. And they realize that, and this is the opportunity, and they're shining. So in this game against Detroit, if they play consistent as they did in that second half, we could keep Detroit we can keep them in the game to the point where it'd be very, very competitive. But Dak has really got to take control. This offense has got to exploit the hell out of Detroit's defensive backs, break their will by going down that field every time we get in the ball. Touchdown. And if the next time is a field goal, fine. But touchdown, field goal, touchdown. We do that, we'll break their backs. And you know what happens when Goff gets desperate and he's behind by at least 14 points? He starts throwing the ball in the air, and he makes bad decisions, and we can pick off some of those. So I don't know who's going to be back. I know we got an injury list of people on there, man, that are all starters. And if these folks can finally come back and get back in the game, can you imagine how much better we would be if we had everybody back on the corners and on the defensive line? And then when they do come back on defensive line, DeMarcus Lawrence has got to stop and think, shit, these boys held it down. Not only did they hold it down while I was out, they shined.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe I need to step up some juices, or something, because I was really impressed with them guys. And against Detroit, my biggest concern and expectation is that the offense score. Because the defense, I think, is going to hold their own.
Yeah. And the thing, I think one of the things is that, with this Cowboys offense is that they are going to have to play clean football as well, minimize these penalties. I mean, I can't count how many times we shoot ourselves in the foot with these penalties. Sloppy play gets you beat when you're playing playoff caliber teams. And, the Lions are a playoff caliber team. I've watched a few of the Lions games, and I'm not going to make them out to be a team that is unbeatable. But, I look at that team as a team that could be in the Super Bowl, honestly.
Yeah, easily.
And so like you said, when it's our time, when we got the ball, we're going to have to score. And I think that the defense is going to have to play another very, very sound game because they've got two really good running backs, along with, St. Brown as being as an elite wide receiver. They've also got two really good running backs in Montgomery and Gibbs that can really run the ball, and they like to run the ball.
They like to run.
So we're going to have to do that. Doug just mentioned right here, turnovers will get you beat this week. That's the other thing. You can't have 3 turnovers against the Detroit Lions. You have 3 turnovers against the Detroit Lions, you might as well chalk that up as a loss because they will capitalize on that. And the other thing is, you mentioned Jared Goff. You mentioned him throwing the ball. I mean, I don't know if you saw the last game he had a perfect game.
Yeah,
18 for 18 and passing the ball. He didn't have one incompletion, which, I mean, I don't know that it's only 18 passes and 18 completions. Not like he threw 30 passes, but that's pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive, regardless of who you're playing with. So when we talk about this game, the Detroit going against Detroit, who are your X factors in this game? One on offense, one on defense. Who are your X factors and your keys on the offensive defensive side of the ball to win this game?
I say on offense, it's going to be Dak. Period. The field general, it starts with Dak on offense. The field general, Dak's got to play a very clean game. Dak's got to be on point. Can't be throwing the ball on the ground. Dak's got to get the ball through the windows. Dak's just got to be the man. He's got to be the one to take over the game. Where goes Dak, goes the game against Detroit. And on defense, if I had to point out one person, it'll have to be somebody on the defensive line to put pressure on Goff. I don't care who it is. Now, I would say if Zimmer has some schemes where he can have a linebacker blitz from time to time on Goff, and a corner are able to like if they play zone, the linebacker rush, a blitz, and the corners be able to cover the spot. If we do that a couple of times and we do it where they don't see it coming, that can help us tremendously because we could probably catch Goff on his blind side and make him fumble the ball. But on the defense, I can't say one particular person. Overshown to me is he's so much of a key factor on defense. Sometimes I wish they would allow him to get on defensive end. I know they got him linebacker. He's a hell of a linebacker. And if you put him there, then who you going to put behind him? But I wish they would put him on defensive end from time to time because he's got speed, man. He's got speed. He's got build, quickness. I think he can get around anybody on that line and put enough pressure on the quarterback to make them think a lot. So let's say Overshown.
Yeah.
Let's say Overshown on defense, but definitely Dak on offense. No doubt about it. He's got to take over the game.
Yeah, and I would say, Dak as well, but I'm going to go ahead and put somebody else out there, and I'm going to say CeeDee Lamb. I think CeeDee Lamb needs to have a big game. Him and Dak have had some miscommunications this year. There's been some people that have tried to put this out that there's a problem between the two. I don't know if you saw it because you were at the game, but I don't know, maybe you saw it afterwards. The whole CeeDee came over to Dak and said something on the sideline. People were trying to make that into a thing. From what I could tell from the lip reading, it looks like CeeDee was telling Dak throw a jump ball. But
it looked like he said good ball for.
Yeah, and that might be what it said. But it seems like the media has really been trying to make something out of the whole Dak CeeDee thing. That there's been some friction between the two, where I don't think there is any. But, I think CeeDee Lamb needs to have a big game. He had a big game the last time we played him. He had that, 93-yard touchdown to start the game off. I think he needs to have another big game. I mean, he's a superstar receiver, and Mike just said it in the chat. He said our superstars need to be superstars. We're going to need a big game out of CeeDee Lamb. I mean, yes, the other guys, it's nice to see them get involved, but CeeDee Lamb's your number one. He's arguably a top 3 wide receiver in this league. We need him to play like that on Sunday. We need big plays out of him all day long. We need him to eat, and we need him and Dak to be on the same side there. On the defensive side of the ball, I'm gonna have to agree. I'm gonna have to go with Overshown. I think Overshown could be the difference maker with these running backs. The side to side speed that he plays with is going to be key. And then filling those holes, coming up in the gap and filling those holes, reading the gap assignments, getting off the blocks from them defensive linemen, which he has shown the capability to do, is shed blocks. That's something I've noticed about him. He's gotten a lot better at shedding blocks. One of the first games that he had, there was one where he kind of got a little confused. Defensive lineman kind of wiped him out of the play. I've seen him shedding those blocks now, though. Shedding blocks, getting the running backs, filling them holes. We got to be sound against the Detroit Lions with those running backs. You have to be sound. And a guy like Overshown can lead the way in doing that and making that defense look a whole lot better when it comes to those running backs, because you're gonna need that. And this is a team you can't afford to let just run the ball and have Jared Goff go 18 for 18. Right. You need Jared Goff throwing the ball about 30 times is what you need. That's what you want. You want to get Jared Goff behind the 8 ball, have him throwing way more passes than he's comfortable with, and getting some turnovers. Now, I do know Deron Bland was put in that 21-day time window that he's starting to practice. They said he could be on a pitch count, but we could see some Deron Bland on Sunday. That'd be a great thing for this defensive secondary, in my opinion, to get Deron Bland back. Obviously, a big playmaker for this team. We haven't seen the amount of turnovers that we saw last year with this team. The turnovers have come back a little bit, down to earth. Sure would love to see a couple turnovers from this defense on Sunday, but I agree with you about those 2 playmakers. Now, on the other side of the ball here, Detroit. Looking at Detroit, who are you most worried about offensively and defensively?
Running backs, period, for Detroit. Running backs, period, because those guys, they're gonna get some yards. They're gonna get some yards. They're gonna have some big plays, period. Them boys are hungry. They don't play when they hit that hole. The offensive line gives them that hole, and it's 2 of them. So it's not like you just got one to worry about. One can rest, and the other one come in with fresh legs while the defense is still out there for 2 or 3 plays. And if they are successful, it's going to kill us, because it'll go back to how Green Bay ran all through us, Saints ran all through us, the Ravens ran through us. It'll be like 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. And we don't need that. 2 steps forward, let's keep going forward. Not let's decline back and let the running game be a weakness. We showed that we could stop the run against Pittsburgh. We plugged the holes just when somebody looked like they were piercing the line, Overshown, linebackers, Kendricks, they jumped right up there and got on their ass. They came like piranhas. We got to do that in Detroit. So the running backs, for sure, on Detroit are going to be one of my biggest worries. And on defense, I can't think of anybody on defense that I'm concerned about, because I really feel like Dak, if he has one of his best games, he can exploit him. And Lamb's performance is going to rely on Dak's accuracy, because if Dak's throwing the ball in the dirt, if Dak's trying to throw the ball too many times to Lamb as a default, he's going to mess around and probably throw a pick. And everybody's going to see he's going to Lamb a lot as a default, and they're going to start keying on Lamb a lot, and then they're going to sit back there and bait him like that cornerback did in the end zone for the Steelers. He baited Dak to make him think Lamb was open in that corner. And then when Dak threw it, boom, he jumped it, because he knew Dak's going to look for Lamb. He's going to look for Lamb first. So we don't need to let Lamb always be the default. And I know we got to give him, he's our premier pass receiver. He gets us the big yards, but we got to spread that ball around and keep them thinking, because Lamb's going to get his, but we got to keep them thinking. But on the Detroit's defense, Kelly, I'm not really worrying too much about anybody on them, because we got the receivers that can out route these guys and get open to get the ball. But it's going to rely on Dak's accuracy to exploit that. And if his accuracy is there and him and Lamb on the same page, it's going to be a field day for our offense. It will be.
So on my end, I'm going to have to piggyback off that and say the running backs as well. I think that until we show that we consistently can stop the run against teams that have shown that they can run the ball, because I feel, Pittsburgh, not really great against running team. Neither was the Giants. Neither one of them have really shown a great ability to run the ball. They're not good rushing team,
Right.
But it was encouraging what we saw. Still, because Justin Fields is a quarterback that can move the ball and run the ball. We saw that a little bit on Sunday night. I would say on the defensive end, though, Aiden Hutchinson is a beast. And he's the guy that I am a little worried about if they're moving him around, especially if Guyton's out there. Guyton has had a couple of plays, man, where he's almost gotten Dak Prescott killed. If Dak Prescott has not been the veteran guy that he has been a couple of plays where it's really worried me. So moving Aiden Hutchinson around and picking on or Terrence Steele. I mean, look at Terrence Steele. Terrence Steele's been a liability in the pass rush game. TJ Watt had his absolute way with Terrence Steele on Sunday night. Now, granted, we still got the win, but there was a couple of times where, TJ Watt is in the backfield. You would have thought he was a running back for us with how quick he was in that damn backfield. So Aiden Hutchinson, another feared pass rusher that I think if you're Dan Campbell, you're looking at ways to exploit these two young, inexperienced, offensive tackles.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're going to see him kind of move around and pick on those guys. Now, if Tyler Smith is out there at left tackle, in my opinion, that gives me a whole lot more. And I'm going to sleep a little bit better at night if Tyler Smith is out there. He absolutely has shown that he can hold his own out there against the premier pass rushers. But again, we'll kind of see how that goes with that game plan. But Mike had mentioned something earlier about we have a 4-game losing streak at home at AT&T going back to last year.
Yeah, going back to Green Bay.
Going back to the Green Bay game.
Yep.
So we that's a 3-game losing streak.
Yeah, because before Green Bay,
3. It's Green Bay and then we lost to the Saints and the Ravens. So
right, yeah.
So a 3-game losing streak still, and eventually that's gotta end for the Cowboys. But do you think that factors at all? We've lost 3 straight games at home. I know the team likes playing at AT&T Stadium, but do you think that when you watch the Cowboys games, and obviously you've been to the Cowboys games, do you think that we lack a real home field advantage at AT&T? Because, for a while there, it seemed like we had it. We went on that win streak and we had won, what was it? I think 18 straight at home. And then we obviously got thumped on the head by Green Bay. What do you think about AT&T Stadium? Do you think that that's a place that gives us a competitive advantage?
Well, those 3 games, considering how we're playing lately and considering how it seems like we evolved during the Pittsburgh game, despite all of the injuries, we still evolved enough to win it. And how the camaraderie seems to be coming together now. It looks like they're starting to see their identity. I think that we break that streak against Detroit. And I think Cut said earlier, Detroit's going to be looking to get back at us because of that game last time when they played and we beat them. And they had that controversial call about the guy coming in, making himself eligible. But we still played well enough to win that game. So it wasn't like we needed that play. Now, mind you, if the guy catches a touchdown, the game's over because that's where we were at the time. But we still came back and won it. And yes, they're going to be trying to avenge that. And Campbell may take some extra risk like he did in that NFC Championship game, some unnecessary risk that might be the game changer for us, and it may work to their disadvantage. But the home field advantage, I think now is starting to look a little bit brighter because it's a good thing all this mess happened at the beginning and early part of the season We're in week 6, and it seems like we're trying to climb out of that hole. And now we got an opportunity against Detroit to really show that we got it, that we're now together, we're unified, and we're ready to press. And Detroit will be a great test at home to prove that we're back to the Cowboys we're accustomed to seeing in AT&T Stadium. So I'm looking forward to a damn good game, damn sure not a blowout. And I think the ass whooping we took in those 2 games at home and how it evolved and how it went across the media and how everybody in Cowboys Nation and Jerry and the team feels about it and the good wins we got lately and that good win on the road against Pittsburgh, I think we're extremely motivated, energized, and inspired to play this game against Detroit by not taking it for granted and going out here and winning this game to prove, okay, guys, we're back. We're back.
You know what? I couldn't agree more. And when we talk, it looks like we got somebody backstage here. We got somebody joining us that knows a little bit about putting some ass whoopings down. We got Mr. Eugene Lockhart. Welcome to the show, Eugene. How's it going, my guy?
I tell you what, boy. I'm telling you something. Can you get this thing out of my face? Because I like to be seen.
I'm getting it. I'm getting it off there. Hang on, just a second. Hang on. Let me get this off there right quick. Let's take that off. All right, there we go. There we go. There's Mr. That's a beautiful shining face. Cowboys Nation love to see. How you doing, Hit Machine?
Hey, Cowboys Nation. It's in the house, and you know what? It's in the hall, y'all. I'm in the hall. In the hall. And
the Texas Sports Hall of Fame.
I slept in. I listened to you guys, man, and you know what? I didn't know if I was at a funeral, or I didn't know if I was at a hospital where a birth somebody was having a baby. Homeboy, that shit sounds so good. You just said, we coming back and the feeling of the Cowboy Nation and all of that shit, man. I'm talking about I feel like crying. I got tears coming down my eyes. Because if that's not the biggest lie I ever heard.
Oh.
You gonna drive me to drinking.
Well, tell us how you feel about the Cowboys, Eugene. What'd you think about the Cowboys on Sunday night?
I think they did every possible thing they possibly could to lose. I'm talking about, think about it. And now, I always defend Dak Prescott. But what I did not like and what I didn't like to see him at this past week, I can see now he's really not a drop back quarterback. He's an option quarterback. He played at Mississippi. You know what he used to do, right? When you see him do a 3-step drop, and maybe it's because of the offensive line is not as good as it is, and you can see how he's looking one way and coming back the other way. That made me wonder, why is he holding the ball so long? He's holding the ball too long offensively. One thing I was impressed with is that he didn't just sell on throwing the ball to CD, right?
Yeah.
Because I think he's starting to understand. I think he's starting to recognize that most of the time CD is going to be double.
Yeah.
There's a double team somewhere. Guys are going to be over. Look at Ferguson. I was so impressed with the way they used the tight end.
Yeah.
That reminded me of when they used to use Jay Novacek. It reminds me of how the Kansas City used their tight end.
Yeah,
and if you think about it, when you find a team as they were, that was playing cover 2, what's the weakness of cover 2? The weakness of cover 2 is down the seam. It's the man down the seam, right? Why? Because if the receiver release outside, that means they're man to man.
Yep.
Yeah.
So to see him, God knows, to see him to be able to recognize the double team and to utilize Ferguson the way he did was impressive. The most impressive offensive thing that happened to them yesterday was this. was that when they was on the goal line, getting ready to try to go in and win, fumble the ball. I said, they ain't hungry. I said, them interception. I said, shit, they starving. And then they make the play, whereas the play that you saw them run was the same play that Kansas City runs when the wide receivers crosses the field and it becomes what? It becomes a pick. The only thing that the Cowboy receiver almost did was not get far enough in the goal line, and when he got hit, he almost got pushed back to the field.
Right.
But praise God that God, again, always looked down on his favorite team.
Yep.
Otherwise, on that fourth down, it would have been a disaster. It would have been a disaster. Let me ask you this.
Oh, look at
What is going on here?
look who joined the show, Eugene. You brought Mike out the hurricane.
He survived the
I'm
storm.
listening to some bullshit that Eugene is spewing about my Cowboys, and I said, you know what? Screw this hurricane. I'm getting ready to come in here and get this thing straightened out.
No. At least I'm giving them some goddamn kudos.
All right. Well, I heard you dogging Dak Prescott. And I'm like,
no. I said the one thing that he did do is not concentrate and recognize when CD was covered that the seam was open down the middle. He recognized the difference between cover 2 and cover 3. That's the best thing you'll hear me say tonight, damn it. And if you don't like that, get your ass back in the hurricane. All right.
Hey, but I don't understand. And hopefully, if you can't hear me, if something happens, just cut me off.
I love you.
Oh, you sound good. You sound great.
Right. I'm saying is these Dallas Cowboys, you're missing your two best defensive linemen. You know how it is, Eugene. This team needed to show up. You had no-name guys showing up. They had some adversity. You had the turnovers, but at the end of the day, man, you know what I'm saying is all we hear about Dak Prescott is, when it comes time to win, he doesn't win in the clutch. He made his mistakes, but when it came down to it, he delivered that 70-yard drive. You got to give him his love. These guys always want to hate on him.
Yes, he did. And the thing you also said last week when you was angry, you said, damn it, it's time for the damn players to show up. And this past weekend, they showed up. Those guys talked about the Overshawn, the Ferguson, the Tolbert. Those guys showed up. And the only reason they showed up is that because they heard your black ass on Cowboys Cage. They heard you on Cowboys Cage. It's time for somebody to get hungry. And you know what you said? You said, if I got to go through a hurricane to get to your ass, you're going to be hungry by the end of the day. And they got hungry, Mike, and they won. Lord, give him a hand clap of praise.
Hey, Eugene.
I don't like.
It was so awesome. It was so awesome.
It was good, but one thing that's bothering me, Eugene, is I'm not in control of the cameras, and he's got my boy Eugene and Greg on the bottom again. I'm not liking this.
Again. Okay,
this is Kelly.
You almost made me spend my day.
You got to leave this slave mentality shit alone now. Every once in a while, one of us got to elevate. All right? Hey, listen. We've been carrying our lunch for a long time. We've been in the cotton field, in the hay field. We had sardines. We had crackers. Come on, man. Flip this shit every once in a while. At least fool us. Make us feel good about it. Yeah. But hey, defense played extremely well. What you think about Overshawn? You think he's capable of replacing one of those guys? I don't believe Tank really wants to play that much more longer. I think he's had his run. I think this is going to be a deciding factor whether he come back or not next year.
I agree.
Now, Parson, I'm surprised that he's going to be out as long as he say he's going to be out. But let me say this. Think about this. You got your two best defensive guys out of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And we understand we got a new defensive coordinator coming in. Now, because these guys are accustomed to making plays, they may not like what Zimmer is giving. But these guys came in and they did exactly what it took They did the thing that the defense was designed to do, and they played better.
Yep.
Yeah.
But you got to remember, if you want some playmakers, these guys are Parsons and Lawrence. These guys are playmakers.
Yep.
And Parsons is looking for a new contract to maybe sometime he find himself out of position. If you look at what they did yesterday, they were able to stop the run on the edges as better as they ever have before.
Yeah.
Because it seemed like the Cowboy defense was on the same page and everybody was exactly what it was supposed to do. And I was somewhat impressed.
Yeah.
But offensively it seemed like, but it just, you never know. The thing that bothers me is this. When you listen to the atmosphere and you feel the atmosphere here in Dallas, it just feels like, okay, they got away with one. It's not like it used to be like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You remember when Cowboys used to be 8-0, 9-0. It ain't like you walk out here with your shirt on, the Cowboy player, and and you dare somebody to say something to you. It's like they almost scared to wear the Dallas part. Sometimes if they cover some of the, they cover. You see, I got the Cowboys on. They cover the boys up and they say Cal.
But let me ask you something, Eugene. Let me ask, because you're bringing up some points, and I think back to you talk about guys that need to step up and opportunity, and I think of you. I think of you. You're what, 6th-round draft pick. Bob Brunig was the guy. He gets hurt. You had that opportunity. You took advantage of it, and you changed that. You had to be a leader of that defense amongst the veterans. So I look at like an Overshone. I look at even Maris, the other linebacker. They're getting an opportunity. Can they take advantage of this opportunity and be a leader like you were, a leader of a veteran defense where you've got a Tank and you've got a Parsons? I mean, you were able to do it. What does it take for them to be able to do that? What do you need to see from Overshone and from these young guys to take that step?
Now it's time for them to see that hey, this is my chance. This is my chance. Overshone, he showed up. You remember the first game he showed up, and we always talking about the potential that he has.
Yeah.
The thing he has to do now is work extremely hard. Not just him, the offensive line, but most important, the thing that I concentrate on most is the defense. Defense showed up. And the thing now is you want to see is, and you guys hear me say this all the time, don't just show up one game and be satisfied. Don't listen to the news media and say what kind of job you did, because it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. What matters now is what's on the inside of your heart. Are you willing? Are you willing to push forward? Are you willing? Even when the guy come back, there should be a doubt in the coach's mind. Well, let's get the injured guy a little bit hurt, because the guy that's stepping up now, we don't want to lose that. It's the same way as Tony Romo and Prescott. They didn't want to put Tony Romo back in there because he was playing so good. This is their opportunity to play good. Make your coaches have a mindset. We can do it at this, you know what I'm saying? And leave it in. And if they do that, perhaps they'll have another hit machine on their hand, man. It's hard to find some hit machines. It's hard to find people at home. I understand what you mean, but now is your opportunity. And Mike, you expressed it so well last week. You said the hell with what the coaches put, the hell with what they call. Somebody got to get out there and perform. And this past week, they went out there and performed, and praise God, we came away with a big win. Raindrops keep falling on our head. Raindrops keep falling on our head. I damn sure hope.
Well, Eugene, let me ask you a question, a follow-up to what Mike just asked. The defense, they did step up and they did what they needed to do, and this was an undermanned defense with injuries to two of our best defensive players. Not a lot of people were expecting this team to come out and do a whole lot. They figured probably the offense was going to have to carry us, when in fact it was actually the defense that really kind of carried the load for this team. So, being undermanned, having all these injuries, Brandon Cooks off, on the offensive side of the ball, Dak having to spread it around to guys that are lesser known wide receivers. What kind of confidence does that give a team like this? Does that carry forward moving into this next game against Detroit for some of these guys that haven't, gotten a chance to really, showcase their talents on the prime time? Does that give this team some more confidence moving forward now that they've shown that they could do this?
It should, as we were just talking about, it should move their level of confidence to a place where they now realize, damn it, you know what? I can play in this league.
Mm-hmm.
I can play in this league. And when you say I can play in this league, it makes you get up a little bit earlier and go out and work a little bit harder. Bring the quarterback out or bring the defensive guy out. Let me go out there and make some more tackles. Let me study a little bit. Let me study a little bit harder. When you got an individual that say, damn it, you know what? I can do this. Why? But you just can't say it because I can do it. You got to do something.
Right.
You got to train harder. You got to work harder. You got to study harder. You got to physically, you got to mentally see yourself winning, playing the position. You got to see that. The confidence just can't come in one player. When somebody make a big sack or somebody make a big run, we need all the other 10 guys to jump around them and have the fun. That's the way to go. And once you get some enthusiasm on this team, don't just say, hey, you did a good job. God damn it, rise and grind with that shit. Yeah. That's when you got 11 guys running to the football, I don't care where it is. When you got 11 guys blocking and you see somebody get a good run, everybody ought to be running. But see, it starts with leadership.
Yeah.
It's going to come from somebody. And McCartney should almost be running on the damn field because if you don't run on the field, they're going to run his ass out of Dallas. So I'm just saying, everybody ought to be ready to go. And it's fun to see when the Cowboys win. But the only thing is this, they don't believe it. Yeah. They don't believe the Cowboys going to go to the Super Bowl. They just don't believe it. So we got to get to the point where consistently younger guys got to step up and earn their job, earn their money. You can't keep putting this on the coaches. You can't keep putting this on the staff. You can't keep putting this on the jersey. You got to put this on the people that's out there that's delivering, that's setting free. Look at the Hurricane over there. Look at, they're not, you think those guys are trying to make excuses? Those people are over there trying to win. They're trying to come up out of this shit. I'm talking about, and then you got a Cowboy team. Come on, man.
Yep.
Let's wake up and let's win because united we stand. United we stand, and divided we fall. That's just not on the football field, but that's in life.
Yeah.
That's
last week I was telling Mike that when we were talking about DeMarcus Lawrence was going to be out, Parsons was going to be out, and I said, Mike, maybe we'll see through the defensive players that have to back them up and now go in and start. I said, maybe we'll find a diamond in the rough because now those guys aren't going in for 1 or 2 plays. Now they're starting and they're playing the game. And it seems like we found some potential diamond in the roughs in Wheat. And I forgot who's the other one on the other side of the ball, on the other side of the line. But those guys went out there and took advantage of their opportunities.
Yes, they did.
And they made you forget during the game because while I was sitting there watching, I forgot during the game that Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence were gone.
They did that.
It didn't dawn on me, those guys, we need them. Nope, they made me forget it. And all I saw was Cowboys out there rushing to the ball with the running back trying to get through the hole. And Fields, just when Fields looked like he had a way out on the sideline, all of a sudden it looked like he was going to get a path to run. Here come the linebackers and the outside defensive.
Filling up.
They filled it up like Toronto was running at me. And I said, that's
they're hungry. I know what you said. You said they're hungry.
Yeah.
They're hungry.
Yeah.
And that's what we're looking for in those
numbers. You said they're hungry. Yeah.
And DeMarcus Lawrence, I've said it over and over again. I like DeMarcus Lawrence, but I feel like DeMarcus Lawrence is not playing to the potential that I'm accustomed to seeing him playing, nor is he leading to that potential that I'm accustomed. And when you said he might be looking at the end of career, looking at his last hurrah, it makes sense. It makes sense because if anybody on that defense should be the overwhelming outspoken leader, it's not Parsons.
No,
it's Marcus Lawrence.
Because
but it's not.
Who you talking about perennial All Pro?
Yes.
I'm talking about since he's been in the league, this guy's been performing. If I'm Lawrence, there's no way that you're gonna put anybody in our huddle that's not hungry. Because he is the one that commands. He's the one that takes over. Even he may not call the play, but he's going to demand that everybody who steps your ass on this defensive field, you're going to perform or you're going to have to answer to me.
Right.
I'm talking about, but you got to lead like that. You got to show it not only in your play. You got to talk to those younger guys. You got to make them, let them know that you got to come right. You got to let them know that no. For the next 15, 16 weeks, we're going to rise and we're going to grind. And if I see somebody that's not doing it, there are going to be some consequences. You don't want no Randy White and no Too Tall Jones picking your ass up, taking you to the guy's name, taking you to the shower. Because that's what they did back in the day when I played. No, brother. You're not going to make us come out here and lose. If he had, and he's not that kind. He's not the guy who going to open up and talk loud and things like that. He performed on the field.
Right.
But again, if this is his team, if he's tired of hearing about, then I don't give a damn how quiet you are. You ought to want to go out with a bang.
Right.
So if you want to bang somebody on their ass, do what it takes, all right?
Yep.
And that's the way it is. Because somebody got to wake up. Somebody got to wake up. I know it feels good to win in Dallas now. What are we going to do against Detroit? Are those same guys, are they going to get better? Or are they going to just feel good about what they just accomplished? And you got to remember this again. It was very close.
Yeah.
We got to eliminate the penalties. We got to eliminate the fumbles. We got to learn how to score in the red zone.
Red zone, that's right.
We got if we keep on doing the same thing. Another thing that you hear people talk about, the most important thing is this. Now, 7 times they moved CeeDee Lamb. I'm talking about the vanilla offense that we're running. You got to start moving some people around. They're going to double team CeeDee Lamb. You got to put him in a slot. You got to move him. Because if he don't get the ball, you're going to lose him.
Yeah.
If he's not catching the ball, if he's not part of the team, his attitude is going to get bad and you're going to lose him. You got, as an offensive coordinator, you got to put this young man in a position where they don't know where he's going to be. Because if you don't start moving guys around, you got a vanilla defense. Now you got a defense that got their feet in the ground that's coming at your ass full speed. One thing you saw different about the Cowboys defense, they blitz more, didn't they? You see the cornerbacks and the safety, they coming up, they blitzing more. They're taking the same theory as the former Quinn, right?
Right.
By the way,
yeah.
How about them Commanders?
Them boys are playing.
Yeah, no, they've looked good. They've looked real good
right now.
And again, this is a copycat league. We already know that. But let me tell you something. If Commanders played Detroit last week, let's just say, for instance, they played them, and they had 4 or 5 sacks. When you go back and look at that film to see what the hell what they were doing and see why they were able to blitz and be successful at doing what they did, you just don't say that to think about my defense, the best defense, because I'm the defensive coordinator. You go back, it's a copycat league. You do what works. You do what their strengths and their weaknesses are. You find out what they are, and then you go about how to destroy them.
Right.
Yeah.
Tom Brady was the best. You never seen him run the same play out the same position. You always see him do the pre-shift. Why? What does that do? That makes the defense. Now here I am, a defensive guy, and I play against them in practice. When that tight end get up, he moves around. Bam, you got a chain cover 2 to cover 3. Bam, now you got the Tony Hill coming this way. Now you're creating doubles over here. Now you got to think about what's the strength and the weakness of defense. Bam, bam, they snap the ball.
It's
Now
too late.
you're not ready to play.
Yep.
It doesn't take a Phi Beta Kappa. It can't play. It doesn't take a Phi Beta Kappa.
Well, let me ask you.
The same thing on defense. Well, sometimes you take the Buddy Ryan theory. Okay, put those out. Put 6, 7 guys on the field. 2 cornerbacks. You make them go man to man and shove them, because if you got 4, you got like 7 guys on the line, and they coming with first. You got Wilbur Montgomery, you got Hampton, you got all these guys, and they coming because they know that if they get to you, you're not gonna have time to throw the ball. That's the Dan Quinn theory. But you can't sit back and play zone. We played 70% zone the first 3 games. They played 60-something% the last game, and they did a damn good job. They got pressure on the quarterback, and they was able to be somewhat successful. The last thing I'm gonna say about this, and this is it. When you're putting pressure on the quarterback, when you're causing the quarterback to have confusion, now you have turnovers. You don't have fumbles. You don't throw interceptions. It's gonna be a change of field and things like that. Once they learn that and allow these guys to have fun blitzing and smacking somebody and turning the ball over, then you got a football team. You got a football team that believe in themselves, that believe whatever the situation is, our coach is going to see from there, and they're going to put us in the best position where we can win and we can be effective.
Well, if DaRon Bland gets an opportunity to play in this game, even if they put him in there for a limited time, and if his confidence is back, it's going to take probably a game or half a game for him to feel the confidence that he can shift and move the way he normally does after that foot surgery. But if DaRon Bland comes back and Diggs, remember Diggs had, I think, an ankle injury. If Diggs is able to play in this game and we get our starters back there on the corners and we start blitzing, it'll show me that Zimmer is finally got it and realized, okay, the Saints caught me by surprise. The Ravens shouldn't have caught me by surprise. I thought the Saints was a fluke, but then the Ravens did the same thing and exploited us. So now it seems like with the Giants, the Giants ain't all that, but it seems like with the Giants and with the Steelers, the defense is improving a little. But I still say maybe Zimmer's finally realizing he has to pay attention to the schemes that he's using against these teams so we won't get locked in that situation like we did with the Saints and the Ravens and become complacent. And these guys that showed up because Michael was out and DeMarcus Lawrence were out, they showed me that they wanted to get on the field and they wanted to get that opportunity to prove themselves. And they did a damn good job. And if they play that way against Detroit, it will create more pressure on Goff and that offensive line than what I feel we would have put on there if DeMarcus Lawrence was in there and Parsons. I'm taking nothing away from Parsons. But what they showed me against Pittsburgh is that these guys have the potential to be hungry and want to go in there and play and have fun and blitz and get in that line, in that backfield and put some pressure on that quarterback. And they did not look like scrubs, or they didn't look like, the substitute teacher.
Yeah.
These look like guys that were starters, waiting to be starters, and finally got the opportunity. So when DeMarcus comes back, he's got something to think about, because he's got some guys that are out there playing for their jobs, and they're playing right now a little faster than he is. And then Parsons is going to be Parsons. So he just got to be able to move around. So hopefully Zimmer is finally starting to get it and realize I do have to change something every game to make sure that we don't become complacent and they get us again the way they did in those first 2 games.
Just if nothing else, just add some excitement to the game.
Yeah.
Add some excitement to the defense. Man, usually I tell you when Ernest Stalling and Gene Stalling, when they would call a blitz, man, it's like everybody eyes in the hole, like, oh shit, yeah. And
Yeah.
then you got Randy White and you got Too Tall Jones in front of you, and you know they're gonna take their guys out. You know it's gonna be a hole that's open. Create some excitement. Don't talk about it.
Right.
Give the guys some excitement. Give them guys a chance to get up in there and make a play, make a sack. And then when you got pressure on him, make that look at that safety. Get an interception. I'm talking about football is football. It's fun when you win and when you be creative and you outthink the other guys. And that's why it's important. If you continue to look at the 49ers now.
Mm-hmm.
Their coaches, what they are, they're winning. But what about them?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
They're starting to show some cracks.
Well, it's definitely a formidable team we're going up against Detroit. I was talking with Greg and told him, that I think it's going to be a team that, Detroit, I think is definitely one of the Super Bowl contender teams. I think when you're talking about being aggressive on the defensive side of the ball, one thing that Cowboys got to get shored up that teams have kind of taken advantage of with their aggressiveness is in the screen game. I saw Cassie in the chat kind of talking about that a little bit ago about the screen game.
Yeah.
It's given us some problems, when they start blitzing like that. So, Eugene, you played on the defensive side of the ball. Just real quick, before we get into our predictions on this game and score predictions, whose assignment is that to watch for that screen and to yell out? Because I know every player, everybody that's watched a game, you hear them yell, "Screen, screen." Whose responsibility on the defense is it to watch for that screen and to make sure that the Cowboys don't get overly aggressive and then get gashed in that screen run game?
Well, the first thing is this: it's the defensive coordinator that has all those sheets or that's in his hand to recognize when do they run a screen. Do they run it on third and long? Usually, you have a team, okay, that doesn't have a really good team. That the screen can allow them to get a lot of yards.
Mm-hmm.
The Dallas Cowboys used to be the very best at running the screen with a Tony Dorsett,
Mm-hmm.
and they would take the ball a long way. The screen and the draw is usually played just they're safe plays. They're safe plays.
Yeah.
But if you don't defend them, they can be dangerous. Now, when you recognize a situation, now as a defensive guy, defensive coach, a defensive a middle linebacker, I'm going to alert them. Okay, it's on this hash. It's third and long. You got to watch the check the screen, check the screen, check the screen, because you see the back going to set up a different way. You'll see something going to be totally different about it. Now you have to have the guy. The way you defend a screen is there got to be somebody on the outside of it, because if there's not anybody on the outside of it, you just take the ball and go down the field. There's got to be somebody in the middle, and there got to be somebody that come from the inside. The only way you finish. But also, you got to remember, you got three blockers now and they always run the screen where to the strong side. Why?
Right.
Because you got the guard, you got the tackle, you got the tight end, right? And the thing that gives it away is when the tight end blocks. Usually on every play, the tight end gonna release somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But if he sit back and block, then you automatically know. That's what I'm talking about, being a student of the game.
Mm-hmm.
You got to recognize and then everybody got to be coming, because you're gonna be outnumbered on the outside for the screen. Same way with a draw. Most people, excuse me, you're not gonna run a draw to the strong side. You're not gonna run a draw to the strong side, and you're not gonna run it into the strong hash. You're gonna take the draw and you want to run it to the wide side of the field. It gives the running back place to remove it and do those type of things. All right. So again, you have to learn that through the week. You got to recognize it through the week.
Mm-hmm.
But it takes, now I'm telling you, it takes a whole defensive line. And when your defensive line when a defensive line recognize, okay, he's setting me up and he's running out, bam. Randy White used to be the best at it. He used to follow the guard. And Tutal used to follow the tackle outside, and we would kill the screen right now because we studied it. You can't study it in the club at night.
No, you can't.
No. You can't study. You can't study when you got
That's a different kind of studying.
You got to study it. And the thing about the game is, what made us successful as a defense is we recognize formation, down in distance, and position on the field. It allowed us. That's why they were so mad at me when I was a rookie and wasn't allowed them to get out. If you don't allow them to get out, they will take your ass to the shower.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So those are the things that's most important. Now I'm telling you something. Detroit got a really good football team.
Yeah.
Really good football team on both sides, and they believe they can win.
Yeah, and they're confident.
And
oh yeah,
they're coming in here to beat your ass.
Yeah.
And they got some dogs on that team.
they
got
do.
What they do? They got some people that hadn't had eaten in a while. Cause see,
hungry.
What you say?
They got
hungry, man.
They got some hungry players on it.
Hungry for identity because they haven't had identity in a long time.
Yeah.
They're starting to get that identity back. They starting to get that Barry Sanders attitude back. And they know that they can win in this league. They're gonna come to Dallas to kick your ass. And if you're not ready, you're gonna get embarrassed. And I promise you, you cannot make the same mistakes that you made last week in the red zone.
No, not turnovers, not penalties, all that. They got to play a clean. They got to play a clean game. They got to play penalty. I mean, cut down on the penalties. They can't be having 3 turnovers and expect to win this game. That's just not going to happen. Zimmer's going to have the team ready. Mike McCarthy's going to have the team ready. Good play calls all across the board to beat a team like Detroit. Like you said, Dan Campbell he has got that team playing kind of like his personality is, and I really like Dan Campbell as a coach. So it's a great team, which brings me to, I mean, obviously we're going into this game. Cowboys coming off 2 wins, and in Detroit being the team that they have, but the Cowboys also have 3 straight losses at home. So I want to get some score predictions. And before we get into that, just real quick for the chat, we got 492 people tuned into the cave right now. So please, if you have not already liked and subscribed, do that. Go ahead and hit the like button because, I mean, there's no other show that you're going to come to where you're going to get this kind of insight. You got Eugene, the Hitman Lockhart, dropping straight knowledge on you guys. Right. Mr. 222, Hall of Fame Lockhart, I might add, because you're going to put the HOF if you go in front of the Lockhart if we're going to talk Mr. Eugene. So please do that. Hit the like, hit the subscribe if you have not already done that. But I want to get you guys, it's score predictions on how you think this Cowboys-Lions game is going to is going to start out. Eugene, I'll start with you, man.
No, you better not start with me.
You want to go last?
You better start with Greg.
All right, I'll go Greg. Greg, what you think? What's your score prediction for the game?
I'm going to tell you what I'd like to see. I'd like to see a 34-27 or 34-31 because I know Detroit can score. And I know if our offense, everybody's on all cylinders, I know we can score because we're accustomed to scoring 30 points. All last season before, we're accustomed to scoring 30 points. If we want to win this game, I feel we got to score at least 34 points, at least 34, period. If we score 20-something points, we're not going to win because we're not – our defense is better, but our defense is not in lockstep to shut Detroit down. So we're going to have to beat them in the red zone. Dak's going to have to take them downfield, and he's going to have to spread the ball among all of our receivers to keep Detroit guessing. So I'm looking at 34-31 or 34-27.
Okay. All right. Eugene, what do you got? And everybody in the chat, you guys can chime in too on your score predictions when I hear this. But Eugene, what are you thinking?
First of all, let me say this. If you're not subscribed to Cowboy Cave, you need to hurry up and subscribe to the best podcast on this side of the hurricane. I'm talking about we're gonna. I want to check the numbers next week. Okay, we'll check the numbers, and if you're not subscribed, I got some words for you. All right, okay, because if you're not subscribed, you're not hungry. I don't even know why you're looking, but you need to subscribe to the Cowboys Cave because hey, you ain't got.
We're gonna send Eugene to your door looking for you.
I'm telling you. But anyway, if the Cowboys win this game, it'll be 27-24. It'll be that close because Dan Campbell is one hell of a coach, and he knows how to motivate. He's not going to sit back and give you an opportunity or a chance. He's going to have those guys so hyped. They're going to come out of the dressing room looking for something. He may not feed them, and you know what that means. You're hungry. But I promise you, they're going to know the Cowboys team so well because that's what he does. He did it as a player. He was a hell of a player. I'm saying we can do it. But we have to be working on all cylinders.
Yes.
Yeah.
Offense, we got to run the ball. Offense, we got to block because they're coming. We got to do everything necessary to keep the ball out of their hands. Offense, keep their defense off the field. Defense, when you get them on the field, create some turnover, create pressure. If you sit back and wait on them, they're going to kick your ass. I'm just telling you right now. And if you wait on them, it's going to be a blowout. And I promise you, this football team that you getting ready to play right now is perhaps one of the better football teams in the league.
Yeah.
You will know where you are as a team after they leave this stadium.
That's right.
I promise you. So I'm just going to say 17. I'm going to take 27-24.
Cowboys. All right. Well, we got two here for the Cowboys. So here's my thing.
But here's one thing I need though. I need 24 subscribers tonight.
You heard the man. You heard the man. Get after it. Get after it. We can look at these numbers, guys. Don't let us down.
Don't let us down.
Don't let us down.
Okay.
All right.
Look,
I agree, man. I've been saying it all night, giving Detroit their props. It's a team that I could legit see in the Super Bowl. I could say that I think that the Detroit Lions are a Super Bowl caliber team. I cannot yet say that about the Dallas Cowboys. I think we're on our way. I think we're building. We're heading towards that way. Last week, I picked the Pittsburgh Steelers to win, and I was wrong. But I kind of there's a little bit of reverse psychology in this thing that I've got going now because I said, you know what, I'm going to pick Pittsburgh to win this game, and obviously my heart is always wanting the Cowboys to win. I'm always with the Cowboys, so it's kind of a little bit of reverse psychology. So I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm not going to switch this thing up. I'm going to stay on that train as long as it works because I'm a superstitious guy. And we're getting some things in the chat. We got 28-24 Cowboys, 34-27 Cowboys. I am going to say 29-28 Detroit. And I'm going to say Dan Campbell goes for the 2-point conversion again this year for the win, and he gets the win in Dallas, and it's a 29-28. Now, that being said, y'all got to keep in mind trying this reverse psychology thing out to where I can predict them to lose and they win, and that's the thing. So honestly, though, in my heart of hearts, man, I really do. I think that this is a game that the Cowboys can win. I think that they do have to play a very clean game. And when it ultimately comes down to it, if this is the team that you end up losing to going into the bye week, I don't think it's one that you hang your head over. I think it's one that you go into the bye week and you learn from what you did wrong and try to figure out how to get better because, in my opinion, there's no shame in losing to the Detroit Lions. Now, obviously, you never want to go into a game saying, yeah, it's okay if we lose and have a built-in excuse because we want to be hungry. We want to be hungry.
And we don't want to get.
I'm just going to let you know right now, Detroit was my pick to be in the Super Bowl this year, and as it stands right now, nothing has changed. I still see Detroit being the team to represent for the NFC in the Super Bowl. And so I agree with Eugene. You're going to find out a lot about where this team is at, and you're going to find out where you stand amongst the elites this weekend after you play this Detroit Lions team.
And the thing is, and the last thing is this, you don't want to go into a bye week losing.
Yeah, no.
You just don't want to go into a bye week with that kind of feeling. You want to go into the bye week with the feeling is, damn, I wish we were playing this week.
Yeah.
I wish our bye week was already passes because the way they played early in the season is like they were bye weeks. But you don't want to go into a bye week. That's too many days that you got to carry with this weight, this losing mentality of you. As I say this, I'm going to say this. If we don't get 20 subscribers by the time we get off of here, I'm going to tell you right now, you're not hungry. You're an appetizer Cowboy fan.
You're an appetizer.
Hungry.
An appetizer sitting on the bandwagon.
Now, you want to sit down and eat some appetizer. We're trying to give you the full meal. So I'm going to watch these numbers go up. And if we don't get some subscribers, I'm coming.
That's what I'm talking about, Eugene. Always bringing the passion that we need, man. I'm telling you, we've had people talk about it and say, you know what, we need to get Eugene in the locker room with the Dallas Cowboys and have him give these guys a little speech and let them know if you're going out on that field, we need all 53 hungry. We need them hungry.
Everybody. No, we need 80-some thousand people in the Cowboy Stadium. We need everybody to be hungry.
That's right.
Set the tone, set the atmosphere.
If we have you in the stands hungry, and if you take off your mink coat and all your cuteness and get up off your ass and stand up and get this team pumped up. When they come out of that tunnel, they ought to be pumped up because you saying, we them boys. Yeah, we them boys. We them boys. Yeah. Right. You ought to be saying that, baby. We them, and the boys ought to start stepping up like men. Yeah. And when you step up like some men, you win. You win, you win. My name is Eugene Lockhart. We win, and I approve this message.
Hey, Eugene, you ought to go see that video I did at the Pittsburgh Steelers game before the game when everybody was going to the stadium. I walked around the stadium telling everybody how we were going to beat the Steelers. I got loud. I had everybody out there looking at me like, this dude must be crazy. I said, oh, no, we're going to hit on business. You got to see that video on TikTok.
I will. I'll check it out. I can check it out. Yeah, this is awesome. But, you know, hey, I'll tell you what. We are America's team. Yeah, and we're America's team because when it's come time to come together for one common denominator, and that is the win. And let me say this as well. We know what's going on overseas with the hurricanes and all those type of things. And I'll tell you what, let's join together and let's pray for them that everything will be all right. And again, when we pray together, when we stay together, there's absolutely nothing that we can't do.
Right.
We just want everybody to know, as Cowboy fans, we care. We care because we win. And we win not only on the field, but also in the community. Right. So we just think anything that you possibly can do in your community, wherever you may be, go on and lift up a hand, but also fall down on your knees and ask God to bless them in a very, very special way. Because I promise you, if we as a community, if we as a country come together for one common denominator, and that's all we want to do is see Jesus and make a difference and enhance each other's life. That's what the Dallas Cowboys is really all about. Yeah. That's what Greg and that's what Kelly and Mike, that's what we're all about. We're here to entertain you. We're here to tell you the truth. You know I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah.
You wait till I get these shirts says, are you hungry?
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Guys, man. America's team, we love you guys. Please give us 20 subscribers tonight. If you don't, I'll see your ass next week.
Well, thank you guys both so much, man, for coming on the show, Eugene. You know we love you, Greg. We love you, man. You guys bring some great insights, some great topics. Cowboys Nation, thank you guys for joining us as well.
Yes.
And I agree with everything Mr. Lockhart said. Prayers down to everybody affected by the hurricanes down there in Florida and anywhere else that's been affected. The Carolinas, I know they're still cleaning up everything. So thoughts and prayers out to them. And you know what? We'll be back again Sunday morning doing the pregame. I'm sure Greg will be back here. My ass will be hung over because that's too early for me to get up after a Saturday morning. But I'll let these guys take it from here. But Cowboys Nation, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you guys. It's on to the Detroit Lions. We about to kick some ass, baby. You know how it is. Cowboys Nation, we out.
Give me somebody that's hungry. Give me somebody that's hungry. I need somebody.